Instituto Superior Monitor. Desenvolver competências para o mercado do trabalho agora é possível. Oferecemos licenciaturas em várias áreas, manuais gratuitos, um tutor por estudante, biblioteca digital e plataformas virtuais de ensino. Instituto Superior Monitor. O ensino à distância, mais perto de si.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gilles Mopanzan. I am the tutor of the English language discipline here at Instituto Superior Monitor. Today we are going to look at the English I subject, and our topic will be business letters. So our business letters are part of the business correspondence, which includes other documents such as emails, business reports, advertisements, and so on. Our business letters can be written by one company to another. They can be written by a company to its clients and vice versa. So business letters are formal documents which follow a specific layout. They follow a specific format and they use formal language. We are going to look at three aspects of business letters. We are going to look at the business letters in terms of format. The format is the layout, the way the letter is presented, the way the items are organized in the business letter. The second aspect we are going to look at is the language. The language of the business letter. Business letters use formal language. We are also going to look deeply at the language of business letters. And the last aspect we're going to look at is the purpose. So, when it comes to the format, the business letter can have different layouts, and we have chosen the layout called block style. And this is what we are going to present to you. In terms of layout, the business letter, is divided into three main parts, which is the header, the body, and the closing. So, in terms of layout, we can divide the business letter in three main parts. The first part is the header, the second part is the body, and the third part is the closing. Each of these parts comprises certain elements which we are going to identify. The header comprises the sender's address, We put the sender's address at the top on the right hand corner, followed by date. Since a business letter language is formal, we have to put the date in full. After that, we write the recipient's address. On the left. These are the items which compose the header of a business letter. After that, we have the body, which also comprises some elements. The body of the business letter begins with our opening salutation. Begins with an opening salutation, followed by the subject. And after that, we have the paragraph information. We have the paragraph information. Our salutation is usually written on the left part of the business letter, and the subject we usually put in the center. Our paragraphs must be aligned at the left margin of a business letter. After that, we skip to the closing. The closing is the last part of our business letter, and it comprises the closing expression, okay, the closing phrase, it comprises the closing phrase. It has the sender's signature. It has the sender's signature. After that, since the sender's signature may not identify clearly the sender's name, we have to put the sender's full name. Sometimes it's necessary to write the sender's position. The sender's position whenever applicable. Some types of business letters do not require the sender's position. For example, if an applicant is writing a letter of application to a company, or if a client is writing a letter to a company, there is no need to write the sender's position. So our closing will end at the sender's full name. So in terms of structure, or in terms of format or layout, our business letter is divided into three main parts. The first part is the header. The second part is the body, and the third part is the closing. Each of these parts comprises certain elements which are organized schematically. So, on the header, we write first the sender's address at the top right-hand corner, followed by date on the same line, and we move to the left part where we put the recipient's address. After that, we move to the body, which begins with the salutation. The salutation of a business letter is usually dear. And after that, we move to the subject and to the paragraphs. Then we have the closing, which comprises the closing phrase or the closing expression, okay, or the closing expression. After that, we have the sender's signature, the sender's full name, and sometimes the sender's position. So this is what we have in terms of business letter format. Then we can move to the language of the business letter. Then we can have this cleared. We can have this cleared. Let's look at the language of business letters. Business letters use formal language. Business letters, as they are formal documents, they use formal language. And formal language has some features which we are going to present. Formal language uses full forms. Full forms. They avoid contractions, which means, for example, we can write, I will attend, I will attend, I will attend the meeting. I will attend the meeting. This is a full form. We could have a contracted form, which is I'll attend the meeting. So, these kind of contractions are not allowed in business letter language because they are part of less formal language. Business letters also use formal words. Also use formal words instead of informal words. For example, we could say the manager is a formal word. The manager, the director, and so on, instead of the boss. The boss is an example of informal word. A boss in a company has a position. They can be the manager, they can be the director, they can be the head of department, they can be the human resources director, and so on and so forth. So, this kind of language is not allowed in business letter writing because they are examples of informal words. Business letters use the correct word order. They use the correct word order, which is subject, verb, and object. What does this mean? For example, the correct word order for a sentence can be we will send the invoice. This sentence uses the correct word order. Here we have the subject, here we have the verb, and the object. This is the order allowed in letter writing. Instead of the invoice, we will send. This is not allowed in letter writing because this is not the correct word order for a sentence. The business letter language also uses correct spelling and punctuation. And correct punctuation. So the language, these are some features of formal language. Language which is recommended in business letter writing. We use full forms instead of contracted forms, instead of short forms. We have to write full forms instead of contracted forms. We have to use formal words instead of informal. We have to use the correct word order. We have to use the correct spelling, which means to write the word correctly. And we have to also use correct punctuation. Correct punctuation includes using capital letters where we are supposed to put a capital letter, includes putting a comma where we are supposed to put a comma, and we also put full stops where we are supposed to put the full stops. So this is the language of the business letter. Since business letters are formal documents, they use formal language, and these are some of the features of business letter language. Still looking at the business letters, now we are going to focus on the purpose. We are going to focus on the purpose. The purpose of a business letter. The purpose is the reason. The purpose is the reason for writing. Whenever we write a business letter, there is a reason for writing it. We can write a business letter to apply for a job. We can write a business letter to order goods. We can write a business letter to make a complaint. We can write a business letter to make a recommendation. We can write a business letter to acknowledge receipt of goods. We can write a business letter to adjust or to make an adjustment to a letter of complaint. So depending on the purpose for writing, we can have numerous types of business letters. Let's look at some. We can have a letter of application. We can have a letter of application when the purpose is to apply for a job. When the purpose is to apply for a job. So we can remove this. Okay. We can add here the type of letter. And here we can have the purpose. Okay? So, if our purpose is to apply for a job, then the type of letter we're going to write is a letter of application. If we can have a letter of complaint, we write a letter of complaint to present or to show dissatisfaction for a low quality of a product or services provided not accordingly. So if we want to present or we want to show dissatisfaction, or if we want to make a complaint. If we want to make a complaint, or if we want to present, we want to show that we are not satisfied with something, it can be a product we bought from a shop. If we are not happy with the quality of the product, we send a letter to the shop or to a company making a complaint. And on making a complaint through a letter, that letter is a letter of complaint. Then, after writing a letter of complaint to a company, the company will have to present its apologies and make an adjustment to the complaint we have presented. What the letter that the company is going to write will be a letter of adjustment. A letter of adjustment comes as a reply to our letter of complaint. Then we can also write a letter ordering goods. So, if our purpose is to make an order, the letter we are going to write is letter ordering goods. Then we can have different types of business letters depending on the purpose. What we have to bear in mind in terms of the purpose when we talk about business letters is that the purpose determines the type of the business letter. Depending on the purpose, we can have different types of business letters. Then, there are some aspects we have to follow. We have some rules when it comes to writing a business letter. There are some rules that we are supposed to look at. So we have to move back to the language of the business letter. Let's look at the salutation. Business letters are formal documents, so every language we use should be formal. The salutation of a business letter begins with dear. We use dear sir to a man. We use dear madam to a woman. And we use dear sir or madam when the gender of our recipient is unknown, to a man or a woman. We use this kind of salutation if we do not know the name of our recipient. If the name of the recipient is unknown. If we do not know the recipient's name, this does not come out properly. If we do not know the recipient's name or the addressee's name, in the salutation we write dear sir to a man. Okay, this is This is I. Let me write it properly. Oh, sorry. We write, dear sir to a man. We write, dear madam to a woman. And we use the salutation, dear sir or madam to a man or a woman, which means when we do not know clearly whether we're writing to a man or a woman, and when we do not know their name. When we know the recipient's name, we write dear, the title, it can be Mr., dear Mr., and plus the family name. The family name. For example, we can write dear Mr. Tembe. This we write to a man. Okay? If we know the recipient's name, let's divide this. Okay? Dear Mr. plus the family name, okay, to a man. Dear Mrs. plus the family name to a married woman. To a married woman. Dear Miss plus the family name to an unmarried woman. We also use this salutation, dear Miss plus family name to a married or unmarried woman. Okay? So when we know when we know the addresses, when we know the addressee's name in the salutation, we use dear Mr. plus the family name to a man. We use dear Mrs. plus the family name to a woman. Dear Miss plus the family name to an unmarried woman. And when we do not know the marital status of the woman, then we use dear Miss plus the family name. This is how we write the salutation of a business letter. Then we have to look at the way we have to organize the paragraphs in our business letter. Okay? It is important to note that the paragraphs The paragraphs in a business letter should be organized in an accurate way. It means that the minimum number of paragraphs allowed in letter writing should be at least 3 paragraphs. Minimum amount. We can have more depending on the subject we are dealing with. In the first paragraph, we introduce the topic. It is in the first paragraph that we say why we are writing the letter. I'm writing to apply for the position of, I'm writing to complain about. So it is in the first paragraph that we introduce the topic. We say why we are writing the letter. In the second paragraph, we give more details about the topic we are writing about. We give more details. We provide more details about the reason of writing. And if we have more reasons, if we have more information to give, then we provide it in the following paragraph. If there are more details, we can provide in the third paragraph. But if there are no more details to provide, then in the third paragraph, if our third paragraph is the last, then we state our expectations. We state our expectations in the last paragraph. If our last paragraph is the third paragraph, then we state our expectations here. Our expectations include further contact. Okay? When we look forward to further communication or we look forward to a reply, so we state here, it further contact. We state further contact. It is important to skip a line between our paragraphs. We have to skip a line to separate our paragraphs in order to create an organized format of the information in our business letter. So, this is how we have to organize the paragraphs of our business letter. If we can have more depending on the information we have. The most important thing to retain is that in our last paragraph we state the expectations. In the first paragraph we introduce the topic. In the second or in the middle paragraphs we give more details about the information. We give more details. But it is important to keep the sentences of the letter not very complex so that the reader can easily understand the information. Then we move to the closing. The closing of a business letter is usually yours faithfully, or yours, or yours sincerely. You end the letter with yours faithfully or yours sincerely if you opened it with dear. Dear sir or madam. And you close the letter with yours sincerely if you began the letter with dear, Mr., etc. In American English, it's possible to conclude the letter with yours truly, or sincerely yours. This is possible in US English. So this is the way we conclude our letter, depending on how we open it in terms of salutation. Then, this is the basic information I had to share with you in connection to our topic of today, business letters. The most important aspect to retain in business letter is that business letter are formal documents. They use formal language. They have a specific format which is divided into three main parts: the header, the body, and the closing. And there can be different layouts of the business letter, but the most important thing is that every business letter has a header which should have the sender's address, the date, and the recipient's address. It has a body which begins with the salutation. It can have a subject and the paragraphs. We also have the closing, in which we write, apart from the closing phrase, we also write the sender's signature and the sender's full name. Thank you for your attention.
Em ti não há distância, basta ter ânsia. Estás presente ao ausente, lar de ciência galopante. Galopa, galopa pelo mundo, sincronizando o saber ao fundo. ISM, reluzindo na mente, só tu, conosco somente, partilha o saber pelo saber, com afável até ao puber, tu és como vês. No teu manto, na tua toga, hoje os vem e outorga, interpretando o preceito a asmodeu sem conceitos, conceitos de sociabilidade, só se solfeja na nossa universidade. Togados como não, togados sem pão, labram justiça. E na mão a driça, levando a pátria puna, para que ninguém se puna. Com a balança e a espada, amanhando violência dissipada, algemam corajoso lobo, em grilhões o lobo troco. Levanta o direito no peito, no dever se forge respeito, lutando pelo direito a nosso jeito. Aleluia.
Uma forte colaboração, por favor.